Hi there, my name is Suze and I'm a divine feminine energy healer and guide. Let's talk about anger today. Anger. My clients know I love to talk about anger. And that's probably something different for a lot of you to hear, right? Anger, again, this is further on the conversation under the big umbrella of shame, right? Anger is something that can be perceived as bad. Anger can be perceived as something you're supposed to learn how to control. Anger can be something that, it scares people away, or it's this big bad wolf kind of a thing, right? Anger. Everyone is so afraid of talking about anger. Not everyone, I shouldn't say that, sorry. Most people are terrified of anger because it is a big emotion, a big energy. And unless someone is not doing the emotional work within themselves to emotionally expand and mature themselves, most people are not going to have any idea of how to perceive or work through or hold anger and use it in a positive way. So this is kind of continuing the conversation I started a few days ago around shame. Shame is a big green light. I called that video that. I really highly recommend you go back and seeing that one. Shame is a big green light. And your anger is your love. Anger is love. I know that may sound crazy, so let's get into it, right? Think about this. If you have done any level of awareness around anger, you may have heard that anger at its core is grief. Or maybe you've heard somewhere along the lines that anger is the part of you that loves you. Let's actually start there. Anger is the part of you that loves you. You may have run across that. I know there was I remember seeing a meme about that a while back that was kind of floating around in the circles that I used to be involved in. And it was anger is the part of you that loves you. Let's get into that for a hot second because it's a very true statement. Anger is the part of you that loves you. So why are we looking at anger as a bad thing and something that has to be controlled or suppressed or denied or run away from, or no one can see it or know about it? And it's this shameful hush hush taboo thing of anger. Let's put this in the realm of the mother. We have this term with this concept of the mother bear energy. Mother bear, mama bear. What is mama bear? Mama bear energy is when a mother is in protection mode of her babies. And it can appear, what is it? It appears to be very aggressive, very angry, because she is protecting her babies. And you don't come between a mama and her babies. I have 2 boys, so I am familiar with how this goes. So anger is the part of you that loves you. Now let's take this a step deeper. In some of the hardest work I've had to do with myself, it has been around the mother wound and understanding that myself and everyone I know in this reality that I have ever met and had the honor of having our realities collide for a brief moment, everyone is dealing with a massive mother wound of emotional neglect in their childhood. And I am not saying this in a judgmental way towards mothers. No human, no mother, no person, no woman is going to be able to perfectly hold emotional space and respond emotionally perfectly every single time their child is going through an emotional event of some sort of emotional chaos and turbulence where regulation and guidance and nurturance and protection is needed. Okay, so I'm not shaming any mothers. But if you understand that the emotional neglect, whether it be the physical absence of the mother or the emotional absence of the mother, the result is pretty much the same. Emotional neglect. And in this emotional neglect, there is a lack of the protection that is needed from the mother energy figure. There are three core responsibilities, let's say, three core responsibilities of the mother energy as we are mothering, parenting our children as the mother feminine energy: nurturance, guidance, and protection. Nurturance, guidance, and protection. And if some sort of something happens, an emotional event happens in a child where they actually needed to be protected and they were not protected in that childhood experience, or they were forced to experience something that they really should not have experienced as a child. It would be more of appropriate for that kind of a thing for them to have to manage and navigate it as an adult. But their life path, their soul journey was such that they experienced it in childhood before they had any level of maturity or experience or knowledge or wisdom of how to appropriately navigate a traumatic, difficult experience. And that's just life. I'm not saying that in a victim-y kind of a way. That's just life, but that is the reality, that these things happen. And if the mother figure was not there to offer protection, that's going to happen as a wound inside of you of anger when that wound is triggered later. Because now we're in the area of grief. The grief in the subconscious knowing. This is deep, deep subconscious activity right here. Grief in the aspect of knowing that a wound from back there, some traumatic emotional event from back there that I'm recognizing in this present moment, I am grieving the fact that my mother was not there to protect me, or anyone for that matter. I was not protected back then when I needed it as a child. And now I'm having a current life experience as an adult that is triggering a subconscious memory of that thing back there, and there is grief. There is grief in this current moment. And if you really feel into that, I'm gonna go down this path for a hot second. If you really feel into the energy of grief, you understand that the large majority of the time you see someone having a negative emotional experience or responding negatively to an emotional experience, grief is at the core, actually. Grief. And it manifests as anger. Why? Because anger protects you. I mean, and that's pretty obvious. You start yelling at someone and what happens? They'll either go away, they'll leave you alone, or maybe they'll shut up or shut down, withdraw, or maybe that creates enough space for you to then get away or have a reason to remove yourself because you had an outburst of anger maybe, or whatever the situation is. We know that anger creates separation and distance, which creates a false illusion of safety, by the way, and leads me into my next point about anger, why anger is actually love. Anger is the part of you that loves you and is trying to tell you there needs to be a boundary here, that the thing that is the appropriate response of what you actually need in this moment is a boundary. Now, boundaries are a lot more than how I think most people perceive or define them. Boundaries are not really about telling someone, oh, I don't like that, don't do that. Now you're infringing on someone else's journey and their free will, and you're trying to control someone else of what they do and don't do, and that's really not our business, in my opinion. My business is me, and I have my hands full with me, right? So first of all, two things about boundaries. First of all, boundaries are about you taking responsibility for yourself and your needs in this moment and recognizing, I don't like what's happening here, and I'm having a response that I'm really having a hard time navigating in a mature, healthy, respectful way. So I'm going to choose to remove myself from this scenario. I'm going to acknowledge that something here is happening that I don't like and I don't want to participate in, and I don't want to feed more energy into it. So I'm going to remove myself from it. Number one. Number two, with boundaries. Boundaries don't always have to be about someone else or some other external situation outside of yourself. Sometimes boundaries are with you. And I did a video on that a little while ago. I think I titled it, The Most Powerful Boundaries You Can Make. The most powerful boundaries you can make are the boundaries you make with yourself. With yourself. And this is kind of where, I actually hadn't thought of this until just this moment. This is actually where the concept I brought up in yesterday's video about hypervigilance, this is where you can plug that in. Let's be hypervigilant on myself. What's going on? Why am I feeling angry? What do I need? And then taking responsibility to plug that into an action step in one way, shape, or form, whether it's physically removing yourself or physically choosing not to speak and to go inward and process what's happening here, or any of that. 11:11, I just saw 11:11 on the timer. Anger is love. It is in all what you choose to do with it that can turn it into a force of destruction, or it can actually be used for your own empowerment. Anger is an opportunity for you to unite the wounded, broken parts of you back together. Anger is an opportunity for you to love yourself, understand where the grief is coming from, and soothe and heal the grief that is inside of you. If that's not love, I don't know what is. Anger is the part of you that's trying to get you to love yourself and turn back to the love. Anger is the part of you that loves you. This is going back to my whole thought around emotions are a wealth of information about yourself that is being offered to you, that you can reject this wealth, or you can receive this wealth of information, learn and know thyself better, to then be better, be bigger, and show up in the world in a whole new way. And once you do that with anger, you are then able to become more valuable as a human being in interactions with other people, because your emotional maturity will really start to grow, and you will be a safe space for other people's anger, because you're going to recognize the pain behind that anger in someone else. So it's nothing to do with me. And I don't need to take it personally, and I don't need to think all these horrible thoughts about myself, or I don't need to defend myself, because it's not about me. It's the grief and the pain in someone else. And sometimes providing the safe space for someone else when they are in that space and not projecting anything of yourself on it or internalizing anything from them. You're not internalizing anything. Holding the safe space for them is the most healing gift you can give someone. But obviously, you have to be very aware where you are in your own emotional maturity, growth, and journey. Because this is not to be about allowing disrespect. That's not what I'm trying to say. This is not about being a doormat and letting people treat you however you wish. No. It is an intuitive wisdom and understanding of the bigger picture of what is going on. But at the same time, understanding your limitations and being willing to impose your own boundaries at any moment in time when you feel it is necessary, if it is becoming overwhelming and too much for you. I feel like that's another conversation for another day, because I want to clarify that. But your anger is your love. Let's look at anger as a wealth of information for you to understand your needs, of where you needed protection, where you need to place some boundaries. And maybe the boundary, again, let me put this into practical speak. If the boundary is with yourself, 1444 I just saw, if the boundary is with yourself, then the boundary would be making the conscious choice to not speak anger, but to, again, remove yourself and process healthily in a safe space by yourself or with the appropriate person who consents to holding that space for you. Anger is love. Anger is potentially boundaries. Anger is grief of the loss, of the absence, of the nurturance, the guidance, or the protection that you needed as a child. Deep mother wound healing, deep, deep feminine energy healing. If you struggle with anger and this is something that feels really difficult for you to overcome and you have been really searching for answers and trying to work with this, I am accepting clients at this time for working with these really powerful energies and learning how to use them for your growth and empowerment to make you a more confident person, a freer, more liberated person, and a more high self-worth, self-value kind of person. My email is in the description box below. Shoot me an email. We'll set up a session. I would love to hear your story, love to hear everything, and help guide you to using these big, powerful energies such as shame and anger, using them to your power instead of being afraid of them. If you are still afraid of something, you have not healed it. And I can help. Thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful for all of you for your love and support. Please subscribe, like, and comment if you found value here. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.